38 Special versus 32 Smith & Wesson long and snub nose revolvers. And what I have today is our Magtech ammunition. Our 38 Special is a +P. It is a 125 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. Our 32 Smith & Wesson long is a 98 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. I've actually never tested this variant before, even though I do test a lot of Magtech ammo. The 32 Smith & Wesson, I did test that in water jugs, and I think I did shoot one shot one time in kind of a video where I'm just shooting various rounds into gel. So I didn't really give it a very good test overall in the past either. So the 38 Special being a +P, you know, what people need to understand is +P ammunition and handguns only comes in 38 Special, 9mm 45, 38 Super Auto. So that's why you can get a lot of 38 +Ps, but you're not going to get it in like a 32 Smith & Wesson long, because under SAMI specs they don't exist. So to test these rounds, I'm going to use my Taurus 605 357 Magnum revolver with a 2-inch barrel to test the 38 Special +P, and to test our 32 Smith & Wesson long, I'm going to use my Ruger LCR and 327 Federal Magnum. So that will chamber 32 Smith & Wesson long as well as 32 H&R Magnum and 327 Federal Magnum. It's amazing just how small these little cartridges are. You know, they're long for how big they are, but if you actually compare it to something like, I don't know, 45 ACP, you realize just how small those little cartridges are. Very interesting overall. So we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test. We're just going to go in the plain clear ballistics, no denim in the way or anything like that to clog a hollow point, to see what the best potential of those cartridges are. After that, I'm going to do more of our real world simulation, where I put 4 layers of denim on this first 3-inch piece that represents our pectoral muscle. After 3 inches, we'll have a 1/4-inch medium density fiber board that's going to represent hitting ribs or sternum. That'll be more of our real world simulation. And then I'm going to shoot at my steel target to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. So our rate of velocity, I wrote them on the box here because I couldn't find them on the box. I had to look it up. Our 38 Special +P is rated at 938 feet per second, so pretty typical for 38 Special +P. And our 32 Smith & Wesson long is rated at 778 feet per second. So yeah, being a foreign company, they pretty much use meters per second. So when it's converted over, it's always kind of odd numbers. So we're gonna see what we get here for our velocity and accuracy. We'll start with our 38 Special. We're not going to get 938, but you know, typical 38 +P, we're going to get mid to upper 800s and a 2-inch barrel. So let's see what we get here with our Magtech 125 grain +P. 853, 872, 868, 887, 869. Case ejection is good. Consistency of velocity is pretty good too. You know, that's pretty much like what you're going to see with Winchester Super X 125 grain semi-jacketed +P or Remington HTP. So pretty much in that window of being like everything else. Now this is rated at 778 feet per second, probably through a 4-inch barrel. Let's see what we get with our 32 long here. 791, 770. 755, 759, 734. I'm not used to that LCR trigger. I popped off too pretty quickly, but we're pretty close to the rate of velocity, which is pretty good being that this is a snub nose revolver. So one thing that does stand out though about this ammunition is that the recoil is basically none. If you were to take like a 38 Special or 9mm recoil and you have it on one end of the spectrum and you have 22 long rifle on the other end of the spectrum, 32 long's kind of in the middle, but a little bit closer to the 22 recoil. So very low recoil. So let's hit our ballistics gel block, see how these compare. All right, our plain clear ballistic test. This is what I call our best potential test because it gives the best potential for expansion and penetration and all of that without denim or rib simulation getting in the way. Previously, I just said that I'm not used to the LCR trigger. And what I mean by that is in the past few days, I've been shooting nothing but Taurus revolvers. I am used to the LCR, but after getting used to shooting those that have a much harder trigger pull, you know, I kind of forgot how light that LCR trigger was. So first up, we have our 38 Special +P plain gel. Let's see what this does. All right, let's hit that with our 32 Smith & Wesson long. Let's go take a look. All right, a big difference in performance here. And I recently tested some Federal semi-jacketed hollow points that had about the same velocity as these Magtechs and our 38+P, and they performed a lot better than this. This looks like the lead may be a little bit too hard, so what happened was it kind of penetrated quite deeply. Not a huge amount of energy dump or anything like that. I don't see any meaningful expansion. We're at about 21 inches. It's over penetration, but not by a significant amount. Our 32 Smith & Wesson long here, being a less powerful cartridge, you know, it just didn't penetrate as far, but it did produce similar results on, you know, no bullet expansion. And what we are looking at is about 13 inches of penetration. I know it always looks like the bullet track is further up this way than where my finger's at, but that's because of camera parallax. Looking at it from my angle, it's exactly 13 inches. So it's really hard to say which one did better. Even though we had over penetration with our 38, I'm still going to say I would rather have that than what the 32 got. But the 32 got, you know, more penetration than, let's say, a typical 22 long rifle. But, you know, and the recoil was pretty similar too. So that's, I guess, an advantage. So let's hit our ballistic gel block with our Denim and MDF in there, and more of our real world simulation. See how they compare that way. All right, more of our real world simulation. 4 layers of Denim, 3 inches of clear ballistics, a 1/4 inch MDF. 38+P. Let's see what this does. All right, let's hit that with our 32 Smith & Wesson long now. Let's take a look. All right, very interesting performance overall. The damage is a little bit greater with the Denim MDF in here. And one thing that's kind of nice about semi-jacketed bullets here is that, unlike a traditional jacketed hollow point where you're really dependent upon hollow point petals expanding, a semi-jacketed bullet or a lead hollow point or anything like that, it works a little bit differently, where it can expand out like that, but much of the time what's happening is that hollow cavity just allows for it to deform and crush, much like a soft point, but better than a soft point. So what we got going through our MDF here, our 38 on the bottom, doesn't show as much expansion. Now up here, this could probably just be tumbling. I say that because the bullet arced up with our 32, so it's potential we got tumbling. But either way, we got more deformation and more, you know, size going on and more damage going through our rib simulation. So, you know, that would indicate that lead is deforming a little bit. So what we got with our 38 Special, I would say, is not too bad. We do have some bullet mushrooming, and we have a penetration of 18 inches. So in more of our real world simulation, I think our 38 did perfect. Now our 32, it started to lose some momentum because that bullet is arced up. You know, you see that when you lose momentum. So what we got going on here is a penetration of about 11.5 inches, just a little bit shallow for penetration. And I cannot tell until we take those bullets out if there's any expansion to that or not at the current time. But let's do that. Let's take these out. We'll take a close-up look at these, and then we'll shoot our steel to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. But overall, I'm going to say our 38 did a little bit better in this test. All right, so here's a close-up look at these bullets here. Here's our 32 over here and our 38 Special right here. You know, the hollow point became a lot bigger with that 32, but it didn't quite expand out. And kind of the same thing with the 38 Special here. You know, it bowed out just a little bit, but not really anything meaningful. Now, when we go through our Denim and MDF, our 38 Special did that, and that is very typical. When we get something right around maybe 42, 43 diameter, I haven't measured these yet, but, you know, HTP and Winchester and stuff like that expands to about that big going through MDF and Denim. So we had a little bit better performance through our MDF and Denim because that, especially because of that rib simulation, caused that to mushroom out a little bit. Now 32 is a little bit weird here. You know, it looks like the sides of that skirt here of that hollow point kind of busted. Looks like the MDF busted them So we didn't get very much overall size expansion, and that also led to the bullet not penetrating very far. So yeah, overall here, I would say our performance with our 38 is a little bit better versus our 32, but the 32 had like less than half the felt recoil. So yeah, very, very shootable. So for what it is, and having 6 of them, it's not that bad of an option, but our 38 Special, I think, did a little bit better. So that's a close-up look at those. All right, 12 yards from the target, my favorite distance to fire them off pretty rapidly. See if I can continue to keep those rounds as center as possible. And it gives me a good feel of the overall recoil that I feel. So 38 Special+P, let's see what this does for me. All right, I lost one there. There's quite a bit of flash. I couldn't see my front sight due to the flash, and I think I shot right over that target. So 32 long here. See what I can do with this. Yeah, very easy to shoot those, and 1 extra round because a revolver in the same size holds 6 rounds versus 5 with 38 or 357. So let me back it up, see how these continue to shoot for me. All right, 75 yards from the target. I love doing this. Most of my loyal subscribers know I love doing this too. It's always fun because the reason why I started doing this is from people saying you can't do that. It's not possible to shoot from any more than 3 feet, 3 yards, whatever. So if you don't like this sort of thing, too bad. It's my ammo, my guns, my video. So I'm going to see if I can make any hits at all whatsoever with these guns. So 38 Special, 75 yards from the target. I'll see if I can make any hits. Alright, that one went over the target. The rest of them, I can barely see those impacts. They're kind of scattered, but what can you expect from 225 feet away with a snub nose, So we'll keep going here. Alright, a couple of them went high and left, so not great, but not too bad, honestly, for being a snub. So 32 long. I don't know how these are going to shoot. We're probably going to lose some momentum here, so I'll just aim center mass, see if I can locate where they're going. So the first shot, I aimed center, and I'm not sure where that hit because I cannot see impacts from that far, but at least not on the steel. But the rest of those shots, I aimed kind of at the shoulder height of that silhouette. So let me keep doing that. Oh, I'd love to make that last shot, but yeah, I'd say about as good as the 38 in my ability to hit with those. They're pretty similar to aiming center. That's another thing that a lot of people, sometimes they think I'm aiming over the target all the time because they look at a ballistics chart. They're like, well, that round will drop, 12 inches at this distance or whatever they say. But that's through, not taking into consideration anything else other than that bullet left exactly like this. But when you're talking revolvers, what happens is a lot of times if you get a really slow round and a very short barrel, cylinder gap gas comes out, starts pushing against the cylinder face, causes a little bit of recoil before that bullet actually leaves the muzzle because it's 800 and some feet per second. So what'll happen is, even though I've lined up my sights exactly center of that target, at the moment that bullet leaves, the sights are actually technically aligned probably at the head on that silhouette. So I technically am aiming high even though I'm aiming center, if that makes any sense. So generally with stuff like this, I just aim center. So overall, I'd say both are acceptably accurate and shootable. I am really surprised though that the 32 did as good as it did. And that's one of those things here, you know, obviously our 38 did a lot better. I would say overall we had more adequate penetration all the time, and that's the most important part. And we had good expansion or mushrooming through the MDF. And the 32 did that, but we just didn't have enough power to mass to penetrate quite adequately enough. Pound for pound though, that 32 did really well for what it is. Yes, the 38 did better, but it's kind of like trying to compare a 9mm to a 357 Magnum. The 357 Magnum did better, yeah, but you got twice the recoil. Kind of the same thing going on here. You know, you got twice the recoil with that 38, but you know, it's not a lot of recoil. But if you really need really low recoil, I would say nothing wrong with this 32 here. It's very shootable. So yeah, our 38 did a little bit better, but for what it is, that 32 did really well, and it does a lot better than a 22. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.